We got Jesse Kelly in the mix. Here is our man, Jesse Kelly, host of I'm Right with Jesse Kelly. I mean, yes, I miss Trump, obviously. I mean, I'll sort of skip some of the obvious here. I'm just on an entertainment level. I mean, that was one of the more boring speeches I've seen in a very long time. I could have written it myself just because it's so obvious what they're going to say all the time. Jesse, what did you take from it?
Brutally boring, and I don't mean that to, like the president's job is to entertain me. I don't want to be that shallow, but it was so boring. I wonder how many people actually lasted very long with it, Buck. I mean, it does matter if people want to hear what you have to say, and it was really boring. And I'll tell you, and this maybe I may be going conspiracy theory Jesse on you, for so bear with me a moment, but in the beginning of that speech, the first 15-20 minutes, it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. The stuff he was saying, we gave out some vaccines and we're going to buy American and we need American jobs. I mean, obviously there was some stuff in there I didn't love, but it wasn't anything too crazy. And then about the time everybody was falling asleep across the country, that's of course when they had to dive all the way into all the dangerous white supremacists and, oh, hey, say hi to the trans kids and all the other stuff out there. So he saved the wild nut job stuff for the end after all of America was asleep.
I can't help but notice he talked about lives lost in the insurrection. That's right,
Yes.
the unarmed insurrection, which was really just it was a protest that got out of control. It was a riot. You and I have talked about this before. One life was lost because of this, and it was an unarmed woman shot in the neck through a locked door by a member of Capitol Police. So what's Joe Biden referring to?
Well, Joe Biden's referring to what he always refers to, a big lie that he came up with, and the media will carry water for him. Remember, Joe Biden launched his presidential campaign, on the very fine people lie that we have. It's not like a rumor. We have videotape of what Donald Trump said after Charlottesville, that the very fine people thing is an absolute lie. It's a complete fabrication. Joe Biden launched his campaign on that, and not a single major media person in the country said, we actually have video. None of that's accurate at all. This is what it's like to be part of the system. That's why I call it the system. You can you can just invent something out of thin air now, and every part of the system will carry your water for you. Joe Biden can say whatever he wants. The 5 people murdered at the Capitol thing is false. We've known this is false. We knew this was false like 24 hours after that whole thing, by the way. And just now, but now they've cemented it in people's heads, and he won't be fact-checked, and now there are people, half the country believes that, Buck. Half the country believes a bunch of armed MAGA people went storming into the Capitol, murdering police officers on January 6th, and you never convince them otherwise.
Did he say the word, and I ask you this honestly because I haven't been able to look at the printed out transcript yet, we obviously just finished. Did he say the word border? I know he talked about comprehensive immigration reform, which is the poll-tested version of amnesty for Border Patrol. Jesse, I was just down there. They actually laugh when you say 11 million illegal immigrants in the United States. I spoke to a member of Border Patrol who has been on the job over 20 years. He said, you know what's amazing, Buck, is that we have, in a down year, a few 100,000. This year, maybe 1 million illegals entering the United States, not even including visa overstays. And they've been saying it's 11 million for about the last 15 to 20 years. That number just stays the same somehow. So they think it's preposterous. Did he say border? Did you hear him even talk about what they're going to do? I didn't catch it if he did. I was too enthralled by the discussion of the white supremacist insurrection that never actually happened.
No, he never brought up the border. If he did, I missed it. He never brought up the border. Of course, he had to bring up comprehensive immigration reform, which actually brings me to a larger point, Buck. I should probably ask you about this. Is a single thing he talked about tonight even possible legislatively? I see he brought up H.R. 1. He brought up amnesty. He, of course, brought up gun legislation, which has no chance whatsoever. He brought up this massive financial boondoggle, which I probably give a chance to, some $4 trillion infrastructure package. He brought up a laundry list of things that has Democrats cheering at home. Woohoo, Joe Biden's great. None of that stuff's going to happen. I hope people realize that.